Everyone, and welcome to March's edition of our Tech UK Cyber Talking 5 series. My name's Annie Collins, and I'm the Programme Manager for Cyber Resilience at Tech UK, and I'm delighted to be joined by Debbie McCormack, Commercial Director and Early Careers Lead at the Cyber Scheme. This month's episode is in partnership with Tech UK's Tech Together campaign, and this year's campaign is focusing on the steps we could be taking to shape a more equitable future in the tech sector. And some of the themes for this campaign are centered around the power of allyship, mentorship, and also how we can empower young people, which is why I'm delighted to be joined by Debbie. So, Debbie, the first question we ask is always the same. So, please do introduce yourself, your role, and the cyber scheme.
Morning, Annie. Thank you for having me this morning. Delighted to be here. As you said, my name is Debbie McCormack and I work for a company called the Cyber Scheme. And essentially we are an assessment body, a training organisation and a licensed body for professional recognition. So if you work in any technical field in cybersecurity, you may have heard of us. If you're a pen tester, security tester, incident responder, red teamer, that sort of field is where we tend to sort of specialise, and we train and assess individuals essentially to work on government contracts. So my role within the cyber scheme is one, to raise our profile, because we realised a couple of years ago that we had a great community of people who were already pen testers, but we weren't necessarily talking to those people who wanted to become pen testers. And it's really difficult, as we'll talk about, to sort of break into this field. So it became apparent to us that we needed to create a bit more support around what skills and attributes you need to be able to break into this field. So the early careers aspect of my job at the Cyber Scheme is where I'm very passionate about helping young people and career transitioners as well find their way into a role in technical cyber. I also head up the marketing and communications team at the Cyber Scheme, so people that come to us with discussions about collaboration or idea sharing or speaking opportunities, all that sort of thing is also in my role. So I'm very busy. We're growing fast. It's an exciting time for us, and yeah, I'm delighted to be here today.
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, sound of that job role, you're keeping a lot of things on your plate at once, but you kind of touched on it a bit around the things that the cyber scheme really focuses on. We're going to be talking a bit about the kind of this, what we are calling the skills gap, but actually we're going to kind of dig into that issue a bit more. Why do you think we're still talking about a skills gap in cyber when we know that there are so many people trying to kind of get into the sector?
That's a good question, and I think it's because there's a bit of a disconnect. We are reading articles from various organisations that say that the number of people coming into the cybersecurity profession is actually not rising at the rate that it needs to be to protect us, and that although there are many roles out there, they are not being filled. So coming into the sector, you'd be thinking, okay, there's a skills gap there. There are roles that aren't being filled. I'm hearing all these articles about there being this desperation to get more people into the industry because we need to protect ourselves from ever evolving and emerging threats. But on the other hand, you talk to students who have been maybe studying cybersecurity for 4 or 5 years, they've got a master's degree, and they can't get a foot in the door. So from what I see, yes, there is a need to employ people into this sector, but what we're not doing is creating the right opportunities and giving people the right tools to find that job. And it's very clear to me, because I do talk to both students and industry, that is where the gap is. But I feel as if there's a long way to go still to close that gap between what academic institutions are teaching and what industry is saying that they need as a skill, and that's what we're trying to address at the Cyber Scheme.
Absolutely, and I think it's really important work, and like you say, you're kind of joining up that gap or the disconnect that we often see. If I was someone looking to kind of get into the sector, where is the best place for me to find my kind of first job, would you think?
What I would say to start with, and this might be a difficult thing to hear for some people, is that cybersecurity is not an entry-level role. You can't leave university, even with a cybersecurity degree, you are not equipped with the tools and the practical skills and the experience to get a first job as a cyber security professional. What we always say at the Cyber Scheme is it's really important to not be driven by Google, to not go onto Google and say, how do I get into cyber? Because guess what? Those organizations with the big marketing budgets are going to come up first. They're going to tell you to go on their training course or their boot camp. You're going to spend a lot of money on it, and you're only going to find out that it's not the answer for you when it doesn't get you a job at the other end. So we say mentorship is really important, absolutely vitally important. It's not difficult to reach out to people on LinkedIn and just say, look, I'm really trying to get into this field. Can I engage with you? What I would say, though, is from a career finder's perspective, ask yourself what you can do for that person, not just be what can they do for me. So you need to really embrace cybersecurity. You need to understand topical issues. You need to understand evolving threats. You do need to have a basic understanding of some of the technical skills and the programming languages and that sort of stuff, because even if you don't end up in a technical role, you will be talking to people that are technical. So you need to have a basic understanding. You need to show passion for the field, and you also need to show transferable skills. So if you can get yourself a job or some work experience on an IT support desk, for example, customer service at PC World, any sort of troubleshooting role where you've got some sort of technical capability, then you're opening up the door to have those conversations with people on LinkedIn and say, look, I've learnt this because I've been talking to somebody about this. And you don't have to be a thought leader. We're not expecting people trying to get into this sector to have all the answers, but you need to show curiosity, and you need to show critical thinking, and you need to understand the threats that are most prevalent in the field of cybersecurity that you're getting into. So it's all about self-learning, self-knowledge, finding a mentor, but offering to help them rather than just assume that their expertise is going to help you.
Absolutely. And that kind of shift in mindset, not from what they can do for you, but what can you do for them, is so important. And I know that's something that you've definitely spoken about in the past. Just moving on to kind of another area within this broader issue, how do you think professionalization of the cyber industry might help this problem?
I think the fact that we now have a professional cybersecurity industry, the UK Cybersecurity Council was set up a couple of years ago, and it received a Privy Seal from the Queen before she died, and has now been operational for a couple of years and is standing up professional titles that can be seen as equivalent to, say, a chartered surveyor or a chartered lawyer or a chartered accountant. We now have chartered cybersecurity professionals, which is fantastic. And the reason, or one of the main reasons for that coming into being, was that cybersecurity is a new industry. Law and accounting and medicine and all of those industries are very regulated. They've been around for a very long time. We are still finding our way in cybersecurity. It's largely an unregulated industry, which means that anyone can set themselves up as a training organisation, anyone can set themselves up as an expert or a leader, and there's not really any checks and balances to address whether what they're teaching and what they're saying is actually correct. Which actually is exposing organisations to being more vulnerable if they listen to the wrong advice than if they don't listen, excuse me, don't listen to any advice at all. So that we really needed to address that. The council has been set up to regulate the industry, essentially, by assessing individuals to ensure that their technical knowledge is on par for the specialism that they're applying for, but also that they have a broader awareness of the sector. They are ethical. That's a very important part of becoming professionally registered, that they can prove that they have made decisions that have not endangered the organisation that they're working with in any way, shape or form. They're not breaking the law. They're not hacking into anything that they shouldn't. But also things like, yes, you might be a security tester and have very deep knowledge of how to do that as your day job, but you have a basic understanding of things like risk and governance, and you have an understanding of the sector as a whole. You're also mentoring other people as you become more and more experienced in your own role. You're paying it back, And one of the most important things as well is that you are being asked to keep a record of your continuing professional development. As we all know, cyber changes and evolves very, very quickly. So you need to be constantly learning, and getting a professional title means that you are then committed to continuously develop your own skills, your own knowledge, and your own knowledge base. So all of those things together mean that as an industry, if you look at someone who has gained a professional title, you know that they have been judged to be trustworthy, that they have judged to be technically skillful, that they have the communication skills, all the skills that you need for someone to have. And so what we're hoping is that within the next couple of years, whether someone has gained a professional title at associate practitioner, principal or chartered level, there are 4 levels that are relevant to the experience you have in the industry. You are proving that you are the sort of person that organisation wants to employ. And we've actually had evidence already from people that have come through the cyber scheme and got their professional titles with us, that they are saying that clients are saying, right, I know that you're the right person for the job because you've done this really extensive application, you've been thoroughly tested on your competence, and we know that you are trustworthy and that you are the right person. So it's all moving in the right direction. It's very embryonic at the moment. We haven't been around for very long, as I say, as an industry, and the council has only been able to recommend professional titles for about 2 years now, but it's all moving in the right direction. It's a really positive change for the industry.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. And I think looking ahead, it's exciting to see that these kind of barriers can be broken down a bit more as well. I think that's all we've got time for today, but you can find out more information about the cyber scheme using the links below, and I'll also include some links to our Tech Together campaign. But thank you, Debbie, and I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their day.
Thank you.